Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from our Half Acre Homestead. Today we're going to do some more dehydrating. Now, I have a bunch of tomatoes in my freezer from this summer. And I also have some that were on the discount rack when I went shopping last week. I have seen people slice fresh tomatoes and put them on the dehydrator, and then when they want to use them, they powder them. Well, I'm going to take these frozen tomatoes, and I'm just going to cover them in boiling water from the kettle, and hope I don't splash myself. And this will help the skins split, and we'll take the skins and stem ends off, and put them in the pig pail. And then, we're going to put them in the blender. We're just going to blend them up and put them on our fruit roll-up trays. Alright, when I get to that point, we'll be right back. Alright, now, I have a bunch of cans of tomatoes and they're coming up on their expiry date. The expiry date's May 2015, or 13, excuse me. And tomatoes are funny. Because they're a high acid vegetable or fruit, they have, you don't want to trust them in the can too long after their expiry date because the cans are lined with plastic. Are you helping, Angus? And they could go, you know, they could ruin the liner of the can. So I'm going to do double duty, and I'm going to put some in with my frozen ones just to add juice. Alrighty. So we've got our first blender full pureed, and I'm just going to add a couple of pinches of salt, like a 2-finger pinch of salt, because that'll help dry. And we'll just mix that in there. Make it a mess. Anyway, and now we're just going to start pouring it on our dehydrator trays. And as I fill the trays, I'm going to take them over to the counter where they're going to be more level, because I don't want to lift a full dehydrator full of pureed oh, there's a piece of tomato top. I don't want to lift a full dehydrator full of a fairly liquid substance and try and move it across my kitchen. So we're going to do these one at a time. Let's get that over there. I'm a huge tomato fan. It's like some people eat apples or bananas every day. I eat tomatoes every day. Hey dear.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that's one of the reasons why I have not had a cold and flu like everybody else this year. Because I have gotten huge quantities of vitamin C just from tomatoes. There we go. There's my first blender full. I have a feeling I'm going to have more than one batch. Alrighty, folks, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trays of tomato puree, and I still have enough probably to do another 5 trays, so that's going to have to wait till tomorrow. Right now, oh, and one thing I wanted to show you is whenever you're pureeing anything, or whenever you're dehydrating anything that's got a lot of liquid like tomatoes or bouillon, I always put a big cookie sheet under my dehydrator just in case it does something silly like spills. We're going to set this at 135 degrees, and we are just going to let this do its business until that tomato is dry. Alright, we'll be back then. Good morning, everybody. It's 20 to 6 in the morning, and Wolfie's had breakfast, but he's not feeling well today, so I think I better call him in sick, which is a rare occasion. It really is. Here's our tomatoes from our dehydrated tomatoes from yesterday. One of the things I really like about this idea was the last time, well, aside from the fact that, again, if we go into the camp and I want, you know, to make a pizza or you know, some quick tomato soup, this is much easier to transport than, you know, a box of jars. But I also like the idea, the last time I made a pizza, I opened a can of spaghetti sauce, and I only used like 1/3 of it for my pizzas. So if you don't have plans for the rest of that jar of spaghetti sauce, you know, it can be wasted or sit in the fridge and whatever. So this, you can make exactly how much spaghetti not spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce that you would like, just by mixing a couple of tablespoons of this powder and some, say, oregano and basil and garlic and about a 1/4 cup of water, hot water, and you would have pizza sauce. Now, I don't know exactly about the measurements, but you'd figure it out as you go, and I wouldn't start with any more than 2 tablespoons of each stuff. Because as you can see, a whole tray of tomatoes makes about 2 tablespoons of powder. So that would be, look at that. Once reconstituted, that would be definitely enough for a pizza. All you have to do is add a 1/4 cup of hot water and some seasonings. And the easiest way to get these off the tray is just to flip it over and give your tray a little bend. Now, I don't know about anybody else's dogs, but Angus seems to like dehydrated tomato. Get good. Angus, you can't want more dehydrated tomato. You just had your kibbles and toast from Daddy, from what I saw. But grinding it. All right, this is it. You do realize that this is almost a whole tomato. Come here.
Pixie, you want them too? Oh my goodness.
My dogs. They would survive. Now, folks, you do not have to grind your tomato into powder. You can just put your flakes right in the jar. I just do it because it's easier to measure. But if you don't have a grinder, it's not a big issue. Well, there it is, folks. 9 trays gave me a 1.5 cups of tomato powder. And I'm going to say 1 ounce or 2 tablespoons to probably a 1/2 cup of water. I'd show you, but I've still got more trays to do. And that's the reason I put this in this big jars. I've got a lot more to do. But it's a great idea, and it's full of flavor. And I mean full of flavor, as Angus so happily showed us. So, if you have canned tomatoes, like if you come across a sale of canned tomatoes, and you don't want to leave them too long term in the pantry because you're afraid the acid of the tomatoes might compromise the lining in the can, then go ahead, puree them, dehydrate them. They'll last a whole lot longer. This is the Mrs. Wolfe from our half-acre homestead at 6 a.m. saying, dehydrated tomatoes. What a space saver. Bye.